Yeah, I mean, again, there was that dominant time. Remember when Wami was playing a lot of Brood, when Bach was playing a lot of Brood, and when Lilgun, when 11 was playing a lot of Brood, it was definitely a different level. Then it just got nerfed to the ground, right? It got immediate adjustments while it was strong, so it just really faded out. Then, of course, we lost the Necronomicon, then kind of went south. I'm keen to see you. Do you want to try Helm the Overlord with Brood?
No.
I think that's not something we've seen. Maybe you could try it out, but I don't know if it really fits the tempo. It feels like you still might go for the durability build, the utility build we saw the last time we saw Brood. It's like Guardian Greaves, Pipe, sort of utility, running down lanes, providing buffs and auras for the rest of the team, and just playing the snowball strat around that. And that was the playstyle we saw last time with a Brood. I'm keen to see again if it changes up. I think it's still a solid playstyle to go for, and surprisingly, Lilgun go for a bug strat. They go with Nyx Assassin next, and the Grimstroke comes out from IAP, so they get to pick it up. They've got the wave clear for the Broodmother. They've got a lot of ways to keep it down. They have the Ember combination and the Monkey King combination here, Mike. So Inkswell on Monkey to jump in with a Tree Dance, Inkswell on the Ember to Remnant in. There's a lot of good initiation from IAP combining with her hold with the Tidehunter. So they have insanely good team fight. And for Lilgun, yeah, they have grip. Yeah, they've got the Impale from the Nyx, but it's not as, shock and awe as what IAP has in the big 5v5 team fight here.
No, it certainly isn't. And now Mars comes out, so a bit of a... I suppose the Brood is pretty flex now as to where you want to put it. I mean, I kind of automatically assumed it should be in the off lane, and I suppose it still could be. But you might throw the Mars off lane instead now, just to try and avoid the Grimstroke, and I don't know, maybe run the Brood mid. We can go back maybe 5-10 years, John, and go back to mid Broodmother, which was when I was running it. We'll find out, though. And back to your point about the Helm of the Overlord. It's a clever idea, Jonathan. It would work. Here's my thing. It would work if the dominated creep gets the spiderweb bonus. If for some reason they got the movement speed bonus, if they could run over cliffs with no terrain affecting them, I would say it'd be amazing, but you never know. Maybe Lilgun will do it. Maybe they'll make me look stupid, John. I doubt it, but maybe.
Yeah, it's an interesting possibility. I know, like, if you are playing the aura strat, right, like with Guardian Greaves and Pipe, technically Helm the Overlord is an aura item with the Vlad's built in. So, there's some synergy still there. I just don't know where it would be on the totem pole of priority, because it feels like the mech into Pipe into Guardian Greaves is still a bit more impactful as auras compared to just Vlad. So we'll see. I think Lilgun going to Mars, because we were talking about that explosiveness in the 5v5s. These are the two most contested teamfight heroes, right? Mars and Tidehunter both sliding through. So very surprising in the draft. I think Lilgun has the flexibility to run either 11 or Sanctity on the Brood and Mars, as you pointed out, Mike. We've seen them do that a couple of times. I don't know if they would want to run Broodmother safe lane. It just doesn't feel like a very good spot for it. So it's either mid or off, as you said. And I think in that scenario, you still prefer maybe Brood off and the Mars mid might still be preferable. I think the Ember still has a decent time to lane, at least with a Mars. You can kind of bully out the Ember, use the God's Rebuke, use the Spear back, kind of clear out the creep wave a lot safer than the Broodmother. So I think that might be the option for Lilgun. Just run this highly oppressive off lane, run a very stable mid with a Mars, and kind of go from there. Just look for your big win condition on the safe lane. But the thing with Lilgun is they like really fast cores, so they need something that has a really good tempo on the safe lane to keep up here.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, final pickup now for IAG. We'll see how they finish things off. Do you want to keep trying to shut down this Brood? I mean, it doesn't really feel necessary anymore. You've just got so many counters already. Right now, it does feel like they are lacking maybe another support. I mean, you could still run the support Tide, support Monkey. It could be really anything apart from the mid lane that the side of IAP are looking for. Support, off lane, or even carry, I'm thinking.
I think they're expecting off from Lilgun. They ban out the S-God, the Luciano S Spirit Breaker, which he's been playing a heck lot from Open Qualifiers into Mineski Masters, so a really great effect on the offlane. So it looks like they're still figuring that, it's probably going to be Monkey King safe lane, Tidehunter support for Chemo, which we've seen a couple of times as well. And something else that can play quick on the off. I'm not sure what options are left for S-God, though. Like, his big heroes are banned out. He could play the Tide instead, but Nick Chemo takes that, and they go with the Timbersaw instead. So, looks like we are having the Chemo Tide. We're going to have the Timbersaw off, the Monkey King safe lane. There's still a lot of team fight coming through from IAP, like Ravage with Wukongs. Again, the Inkswell combos here, Mike, are ridiculous. Inkswell Timb, Inkswell Ember, Inkswell Monkey King, Inkswell Tide when he has a blink up. There's so many ways for IAP to approach these engagements, and for Lilgun, you have to worry about a lot. There's a lot of ways to rip through the Broodlings, from the Grimstroke, from the Tide, from the Monkey, Ember, Timbersaw. There's a lot of ways to rip through the strength of the Mars with the Timbersaw online as well. I'm not sure if there's really a last pick here for Lilgun that ties in and kind of covers all their bases here. It just feels like with this really early Gambit and Brood, they've just opened themselves up to a lot of vulnerabilities on the draft.
Well, they're going to go down the TA route for their last pickup, so it's a very snowbally kind of lineup here from Lilgun. I think the idea is here, John, if they win out their lanes, this kind of draft just tends to take over the game. I do appreciate the point you were making, though, that IAP definitely have the superior team fight. And it does feel like if Lilgun cannot just dominate lanes, their draft may just fall apart completely. It's just one of those drafts that it either works or it doesn't. Do you believe in it, though? I mean, with the last pick TA, you'd expect TA to do okay in the mid lane, but it is against Ember, which is, you know, known as somewhat of a counter towards the Templar Assassin. So it's a very cocky pick here from Lilgun, I feel.
Yeah, I think they flexed a bit hard on the Brood. Again, they went with... Now they're with Mars for 11. That is 11 on the Mars, so that's the off-lane Mars likely. 4-2-3 on the safe lane Brood. I feel like the TA can be your win condition. It's just that it's not a very easy game to secure your win condition here. There is enough space that Lilgun can create for the TA to be successful. You can expect 4-2-3 and 11 to take that early activity, run around, look for arena plays, look for objectives fast, and just wait out that Dezo timing on the TA. But I think IAP still has a really good response. You know, Marb Monkey King is something I've seen a couple of times. It does perform really well, and I think it does tend to play fast. So it's the same thing as, say, Jackie Monkey King, where you build Echo Saber, you're ready to go. You're not really camping around. You're not really playing a long farm game. You just kind of want to use the early initiation you have with Ravage, with your Ember Spirit's mobility, and Luciano S-God's mobility. Just jump in and clear out. I just don't know how effective a Brood can be when there's so much wave clear. Like, that push potential just doesn't feel scary when you've got all these heroes on IAP, and I think for Lilgun, again, they're going with a really heavy Broodmother Gambit on the first phase. I think IAP might just have the better draft overall. Like, they've just managed to counteract it.
No, I think that's a fair point, but we'll wait as we do get into game number 1 to see if IAP can take their first game of the Division 2 for the SCA DPC, or whether Lilgun are going to do the same. Again, IAP, they came from the open qualifier, so they made it all the way through to this point. See how they do fare against a team that was already here to begin with.
Absolutely perfect.
We do get into a John game number 1. Now, I was going to ask you the hard question, but it does seem like you've already answered, and your faith does lie in IAP's draft. Tips already coming up 4-2-3 as well, so I think they recognize how hard of a game this Broodmother's going to have in this game number 1. 4-2-3, though, I did bring up the mid Broodmother, John. He is running that way. It is looking to be a safe lane TA for Sanctity, so mid Brood is upon us again.
Yeah, it's coming out. I don't know if the matchup against Ember is really all too great. Like, you will have the webs, you'll have the added regen, you'll have the mobility. I don't know if your wave clear is really that strong. You can try to use the Silken Bullet to zone out the Ember, but overall I think the Ember spikes are a little bit faster, so it's all down to how well 4-2-3 juggled his side lane, his side camp, and you already have a block early on here from the side of IAP, so they already blocked the small camp, they're already ready for that in and out. The web should reveal the lane matchup, so Yona should be pretty good to go, expecting that, and just kind of handle it. I'm still keen to see, because the Brood, again, was really strong like 3-4 months ago, then just really got nerfed, so Lilgun, it's their comfort pick. I'm wondering how they change it up with playstyle.
When they move, could be a level 1 team fight already as Kimmo. He'll frontline for the team. It looks like Lilgun understanding they aren't so strong at level 1. We'll just have to let the boundary runes go. And it should be a 3-for-1 trade in the favor of IAP, so already a great start for the Radiant team. And while we're around, we'll talk about the top lane. You've got Escort on that off lane Timber. Of course, Matthew going to be there to support him on that Grimstroke. And of course, Ace 12 is there on that POS 5 Bane against, or rather with Sanctity on that POS 1 TA. This laning phase, John, I'd like to say the TA should have a good time, but I feel like as the levels do come up on Escort, things are going to get very scary. Anything we should be watching out for?
It's really Sanctity's ride towards level 3. By level 3, you can feel a little bit better, but that's the same spike for Escort to kind of get tanky with reactive. So that's usually the 0-1-2 build for the Timbersaw. Level 2 reactive is enough to ride through. And for Sanctity, those first 3 levels are a lot harder. You're seeing the harassment come through from Matthew, playing around with a Stroke of Fate. I think a lot of effort has to come in here from Ace 12 to trade hits, to zone out, and try to work this lane as best as possible for Sanctity to get that ride up. Until that point, though, again, Escod can just kind of zip around, play with a Timber Chain, do some damage, keep the farm game up. Once he has that value point in reactive, that's when it gets a lot harder to zone out the Tim. The damage of the Bane is pretty good with Brain Sap, though. Like, that is pure damage, and you can trade back and forth. I think Matthew's doing a good job of just standing back, not directly trading with Ace 12, letting Escod comp it for the first few waves, and just kind of harassing out, just keeping up that Stroke of Fate game. So keeping the waves shoved in, it's a bit tough for Sanctity, and he's just going to have to be very patient this lane.
Alright, well, of course, mid lane, you've got 4-2-3 against Yona. You didn't know too much about this this hero matchup because it is kind of hard knowing a Broodmother versus Ember these days. For now, it is a very even style of matchup. I think everything should be fine for 4-2-3. I mean, naturally, Yona's going to have a bit of an advantage once you do get the Spiderlings up because he can clear them fairly easily. But I think 4-2-3, as long as he starts to rotate into the jungle, rather than remaining in the mid lane, he should be just fine.
Yeah, he can still manage it, and keeping up in CS is already pretty good for the Brood. My worry is that they haven't gotten that D-Ward in the small camp. So that's the easy camp for 4-2-3 to zip into between waves. He doesn't have access to that easy farm, and that's cutting off a lot of early economy for 4-2-3. The one good thing about the Brood mid is that going for runes isn't necessary. You can kind of hold your mid lane. That does give a lot more for Yona, though, because he gets free runes, gets free refills, can keep spamming out the spells.
4-2-3, he's trying to go for a bit of a man fight here against Yona, and Yona is dropping very low now to the Insatiable Hunger, but he's still trying to abuse that Flame Guard. Very fire up, Yona. He won't have that level 1 Sleight of Fist to use yet, but he's making the chase down with the chains out, but he does not connect. Had he landed those chains, that probably would have been first blood the way of Yona, but just not quite enough. So he does have a nice little advantage now on that mid lane against the Brood Mama. Of course, I mean, she can passively heal up, but it is a bit of a slow process here, so we'll see what they get done. And of course, the bot lane, Jonathan. You've got Kimo and Marp down there against Kishka. And of course, the Mars. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but anything to watch out for with this laning phase?
I think it's a very stable lane. There's a lot of minus armor here when you've got the Tide support, so Gush plays really well into what Marb has with his physical output. It's the usual melee matchup against Monkey King. He kind of doesn't care. No matter how tanky you are, no matter how many spells you have, you can just keep getting right clicks off, build Jingle up, use Boundless to heal back up. And as a dual melee lane for Kishka and 11, that's 11 on Mars, you can't really pressure them out. You can maybe focus down on Kimo, which we've seen Kishka kind of do, but as long as Marb is farming, you don't really mind. So I think this is a pretty good lane for IAP as well. There is a spike here for Lilgun. Like, they have doubled stuns. Impale into Spear is pretty nice. It's just very tough to burst these heroes down. You have to land that stun perfectly, and you have to slowly chip away at them before you can really secure that kill.
Do you have any idea how to pronounce that name, John, on Mars?
All I know is it's 11 in Cyrillic. That's it.
Well, Kishka's in trouble right now. Chase is on. Marb's got the Boundless Strike, but the Impale is going to land from Kishka. He will end up throwing out the Boundless in the end, just to proc that Jingu Mastery. But no kill will come of it. In fact, no kills so far at 4.5 minutes in. Both teams being very quiet thus far. Neither side unable to pick up anything, but they do now go on to Marb. Kishka, he's got no mana though for the Impale, so can't really follow up there with 11, so Marb's going to be just fine. Meantime, top lane, Sanctity's going to get dived as we speak. Spell will be there, but the refraction was out just in the nick of time from Sanctity. Looks like he will be able to survive. Bot lane, however, Kishka. Again, dropping very low on that Nyx Assassin, but he'll also be able to walk out of it.
Yeah, a lot of back and forth. No first blood yet. And it does look like the laning phase is favoring Lilgun so far. They're getting a little bit more CS out from the lane, so despite the potential there from IAP, Lilgun are playing to their comfort heroes, right? Like, we talked about them being very comfy with the Sanctity, TA, very comfy with the Brew. They are playing it to its best limits. They're getting what they need from the lanes, and that does mean that they'll have that steady build-up. I think the important timing is going to be still Sanctity with the Deso, with the Dragonlance, and Blink. Once you're ready to go with that, maybe even the BKB, you're going to set yourself up for a real good time, because 4-2-3 is still going for that usual Orchid build-up, and despite losing out in the small camp, he's managed to get the D-Ward. Level 6 is up, Mike. You talked about this. You play with the spiderlings, you farm the jungle, you are going to outfarm no matter what. And it looks like IAP hasn't done enough to really keep the jungle in control. They don't have forward wards in the triangle, they lost their block sentry, and now 423 can just work every single camp he wants to.
I mean, Kimmo's rotated, but I'm not sure about that. 423, he'll happily move in, and look at the amount of damage with the spiderlings out. Kimmo feeling very charitable here against Lilgun. Does give a kill over to 423,
Ooh.
but that's a lot of damage coming out of the Broodmother now. He'll try to heal up, but he cannot do it. So Yona just getting through all the HP, does eventually trade. I mean, 423, he does at least get the first blood bonus.
Yep, First Blood's still a good pickup. You're just seeing the power there, Mike, of the Grimstroke, right? Stroke of Fate on all of those spiderlings. Your micro has to be on point for 423 at every second. You have to be ready to move out those spiderlings. You have to be ready to protect yourself and kind of just take away that damage. But as long as Matthew's in the right spot at the right time, it's going to be very difficult to pull off. And I love what Matthew's doing. He just plants the ward up top, ready to spot out the farm of the TA. And that does set up for the eventual gank attempt. The sentry's way far off here from the side of Lilgun, so when the time comes, they can come in and punish that TA when she does decide to just sit back and build up.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one thing you definitely need to do against a Templar Assassin is just make sure she can't freely farm those stacks up. So detrimental if you allow her to do so. You do have a draft here from the side of IAP that can just invade the jungle very easily. This bot lane, more action coming out here from IAP. You see 11 and Kishka both dropping extremely low in terms of HP, but well, they'll be able to get out and just back off to the fountain. Just in the meantime, you are going to allow Marp to have a very good time on this Monkey King. But even with that, he is still quite far behind the TA right now. So all things being said and done, it does feel like Lilgun are winning out these lanes quite hard.
Yeah. Again, they're finding what they want. They know how to push these heroes to their limits in the lane. And they haven't been dropping kills, which is really good news. They might have been dropping low, but you're not giving that snowball start to IAP. So you've still got that solid foundation to build up and fall back for farm and keep playing around, although...
Yeah, 423, he's going to be just fine. Stroke of Fate, I believe, did not connect onto the Broodmother. She did lose a lot of spiderlings, but at least she didn't take the damage. Top lane, Sanctity, he's going to try and move in onto Escort. I'm not sure if he can get this done, but he's going to try for this. The trap slow out, Meld Strike up in a few seconds. Maybe he can get it done. But no, Escort, he does manage to chain away. That is a very concerning sign here for IAP. This TA, just by herself, is able to get through so much HP from Escort on the Timber. It's just not something you see every day.
Yeah, it's a bit rough for the Timb. To melt that refraction, you have to get a good duration on the Chakram to deal the damage and kind of tick away. No one else really has good burn outside of the Ember and Kimo.
Yeah, he's gone. Tried to escape the spiders. He eventually tried for the TP play, but you always had 11 there to just stun him up with the spear. It'll be another kill to go the way of 423. Mob, we are going to have a quick pause out, it seems. As Lilgun, they are having a few lag issues. And this gives me a chance to bring up the open qualifiers, Jonathan, because you like to deny everything. I have one simple question for you, sir. Just for the viewers out there that were asking where MLP was. Did you or did you not ask me to cast with you?
I didn't ask you, Mike.
You didn't ask.
Because I knew you were busy. I knew you were busy.
You lying
I knew
son
the
of a
life
bitch.
circumstances.
You
I knew,
lied.
well, I knew you were busy, so I didn't ask you. Because I knew you'd say, "Oh, John, I'm busy with the shed. The bodies are decaying. The cops are on my tail. You know, I'm wanted in several states. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know the states of Australia. Only New South Wales. I'm wanted in New South Wales because of the bodies. It's not even the bodies itself. It's the stink.
Yeah.
The neighbors are complaining. Got to move them out. Build a shed.
Oh,
So,
they do tend to smell.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Nah, it does.
Oh, the cops are no
How do
problem.
you live with it?
Plenty of space.
How do you live with the smell, Mike?
Oh, I
How do you
don't,
deal
John.
with it?
Well, it's in the shed, Jonathan. I don't live in it. Yona, Matthew, big rotation. You talked about that ward to scout out the stacks, and they've found him. Yona, he'll move in onto Ace 12 now. Nightmare will save, but that's besides the point. They found so much golden XP here for Yona, and they'll get to it with the Flame Guard now. They'll scan out, they know it's happening. Lilgun, they need to try and close the gap and get something done. Yona, though, he's pretty much got all the creeps anyway.
Oh, the mask,
Although that
the
neutral
mask.
item... Oh, they've lost the neutral item. At least you get a neutral creep deny on Matthew. So no gold to go the way of Lilgun, but they lose a very valuable neutral item in the Possessed Mask. Arguably one of the best neutral items at level 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's been nerfed a bit, so the life steal isn't as insane, but it's still really helpful for something like your Monkey King here. So a nice little pickup from IAP, but I think losing the stacks is still a bigger pain point for Lilgun, right? Like, they still denied farm from the TA, although it doesn't feel like Sanctity needs that much catch-up farm. Like, the Dragon Lance is almost done, the Deso is going to come through, the right-click damage is going to be off the roof, but IAP are looking to pressure top now.
They are, but Inkswell not going to be able to land as the Nightmare was out from Ace 12. Yeah, Scott, he'll be fine with it. I mean, I think they just want to try and go after this top tier 1 tower now as IAP. They do group up. But John, I've got to say, you look back at the Ember right now, Yona's already got a Maelstrom going. That's concerning at 10.5 minutes in. You know, I realize he didn't really go for phase boots or anything like that, but this fast as a Maelstrom against the Broodmother, that's going to be a lot of gold going back the way of IAP now. But I do appreciate the fact that Yona does decide to just purely rush the Maelstrom rather than going for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great item against this Brood, right? Like, the Chain Lightning's going to help you clear out the creep wave so fast, and of course, bump up your damage. As you said, Mike, it's not quite the usual power spike we see where you go phase boots or corrosion, but you're against a Brood. You don't really need that. And I love that Yona's also going for fast BKBs, which kind of removes a lot of Lilgun's hold for the Ember. This is going to be a very slippery Ember in the game that's going to force the grip from Ace 12 onto the Ember every single time, but that'll open up access ways for S-God, access ways for Marb to just jump in without worrying about grip. I think it's going to really split up the focus of Lilgun. So we'll see how fast that timing comes. Look how long the Sleight of Fist lasts with all of those Spiderlings. Jeez.
It's the beauty as well, because the more Spiderlings there are, the more times you proc the Maelstrom. It's just a really nice item pickup, though. Yona could be in trouble now, as Kishka should have a very easy Spike Carapace into an Impale, and he does. 4-2-3 will easily clean up. And that's something you do have to be a little bit wary of if you are Yona. That Nyx Assassin's still going to be a massive issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy way to just set up Spike Carapace out, get the stun, clean up. You're going to need a lot of sentries here from the side of IAP. Love that move out from Kishka. That does help them to just apply that pressure bot. Top lane still being taken over by IAP here, Mike. They're still trying to get the shove in, still trying to contest the jungle, but they've already cleared out most of the stacks and all.
Yeah, Fiend's Grip out, but the balance is going to cancel there from Marb. Still, S-God needs a way out himself, but he'll just chain. So 11 was unable to close the gap in time. Instead, maybe they could find Marb in the tree line, but 11, he doesn't want to drop the arena. That's really the only way you would have knocked him out of the tree line. He tries to go for the blind spear, but it's just way off the mark. In the meantime, though, big smoke up here from IAP. They're just kind of following the Spiderlings down as eventually Kishka does make his way in. I suppose you still get some gold here as the Spike Carapace is out. Kishka trying to turn back around onto this Ember. Now they've got the Orchid out on 4-2-3. Could be a little bit problematic for Yona, but it seems as though he can just wait out the duration. And in the end, does end up finding a regen rune anyway.
It's not the best use of the smoke. You still miss out on that kill opportunity on the Brood. Timely TP out there for 4-2-3, but they've got the spikes here in IAP. Kimo, he's got level 6 up. He's got the Ravage. Just ready to go, waiting for that opportunity, and this is where the lineup of IAP can get a bit scary. They have a little bit of their wombo combo going. They're ready to play with the Inkswell charge in. And there has been really good positioning out from our Bane, though. Like, Ace 12 has just been able to cut off that movement so many times. I think you have to be a bit more cautious from IAP. You definitely need to find a good smoke angle, although Matthew...
Now, they do find Matthew out on the Grimstroke, but he's not going to cop enough damage to die yet. In fact, they'll turn right back around onto Ace 12, and it seems like they've got him. Ace does go down. Yona able to pick up another kill here on the Ember. And IAP, I mean, they're trying, or rather, Lilgun's the one that are trying to find any kills they can with this Brood, but it's just not working out.
Yeah, I mean, they're not lining up the kills, but they're still working the map well, Mike. Like, Sanctity and 423 are still up at the top of net worth, so your TA timings, your big win condition timings are still lining up. The Deso is almost done. Once you hit that, again, you can just run in, try to melt these heroes down. I just worry about what heroes you can melt, because Monkey King with Wukong's is going to be very tanky. The Timbersaw already has Vanguard, and he's going for a Lotus Orb, so the Plate Mail armor is in play as well. I don't think you're going to be able to physically burst down a lot of heroes. Maybe just focus in on the supports, perhaps the Ember as well if he's caught out. That's going to be the extent of it. So your heroes to target are sort of limited in IAP. They're still playing with the smokes here, still looking for opportunities. Very cautious play from Lilgun, though. Mike's hanging way far behind to ensure that they're not picked off.
Yeah, and Ace 12, he's going to be around to just break the smoke here, tank the gank of the team. He will do so as Matthew does take the kill himself on the Grim. In the meantime, Kishka does now show himself in that Nyx Assassin, but Marb, he'll go for a bit of a chase here with Kimo. Impel is out, but it only lands on the Tide. And that should mean Kishka does eventually go down, and does, as Kimo is able to take the kill on the Tide Hunter. And with that, I mean, they can easily just push in this mid-tier 1 tower. And so far for Lilgun, I mean, while they are farming very nicely on their TA and their Brood, in terms of objectives, they're not finding anything.
Yeah, they're not really able to push out. I don't think that's a massive issue. We have seen some Broodmother games go a bit slow for the first 20 minutes. And then once you're itemized at the 20 to 25 minute mark, that's when you're good to go. That's when you take these fights. Maybe perhaps having that quick protection on the Brood's going to really help. Maybe that Desolator, Blink, and maybe the BKB on Sanctity is also your spike you're looking for. So I think for Lilgun, it's a game of patience, Mike. You just have to hold back, try to avoid taking too many losses on the ganks, and keep having faith that the Broodmother and the TA will eventually carry you out here.
Yeah. Well, you do hit a very nice mid-game spike once you do have the Deso up, or maybe even just the Blink here on Sanctity. In the meantime, though, 423 does end up securing a kill onto Matthew, so you do get some action here from 423. I suppose regardless of how much impact the Brood has had, he has been doing his job. Just buying space for Sanctity as they do find another kill now. They've got the Timber. And with the Orchid, with the Fiend's Grip, it's going to be no problem whatsoever to take care of this kill. So another one that goes the way of 423. They do hold a 1k net worth advantage here for Lilgun. IAP, I mean, sure, they've been finding kills, but in the end, still behind net worth. It is eventually going to fall apart if they can't get something done, as now the Tide has been jumped. Kimo is going to get stunned up. Is still fine, however, but 423, I thought he might go for a bit of a chase, but in the end does decide to leave the Tide alone. It's not really worth his time and the risk. And instead, it's right back to farming. Well, I say that, Kimo, again going to be chased down, but now the Soulbind is out from Matthew, and Escort is going to join the team. But he is used up. Matthew, he might just die to Spiderlings right now as they just continue to chase him down, but Ace 12, he's also been caught out on that Bane. They'll find a 1-for-1 thus far as Kimo, he'll drop to boot by 11 on the Mars. And they might even go for more now. Silence out onto the Ember. He'll be fine with the Yules out. Yona, walk out of there as 11. Will not connect the Spear onto Marv. Escort still trying to move forward, but looks like he's kind of running out of options now. He will try into 423, but again, they'll try to turn right back around onto the Timbersaw, but do they have enough damage? More heroes moving in to try and help out. They'll force out the Wukong's command, and they might find Kishka, or maybe not. The Nyx Assassin is still alive and still running, and looks like he might just make it. He's out of there. He's fine.
Ooh. It's a bit messy for IAP. There were a lot of spells forced out from both sides. Lilgun still wins out in the end. They widen their lead to 3k. Surprised by the lack of dust on the side of IAP, and they even lose Matthew again. So the burst damage is coming through now from Sanctity. Desolator up, Mike. That's when our TA can start ripping through a couple of these softer targets.
Yeah, I mean, he just two-shot Matthew. Definitely doesn't feel very nice, as they've even found the Ember now with the Fiend's Grip out from Ace 12. And I think Sanctity will have more than enough. One Meld Strike is all it takes. That's a 5-9 now, 4k net worth advantage for Lilgun. And they've hit their timing. We were kind of doubtful with no objectives being taken, but they're well and truly online now. They just put all their trust in their TA. And at this point, for IAP, they're just going to kind of weather out the storm a little bit.
Yeah, it's IAP's turn to play it a bit patient. You know, this is the 20 to 25 minute spike that we're kind of looking for from Lilgun. They hit the Deso timing, the TA hits hard. For the side of IAP, there are a couple of things we haven't seen from them. We haven't seen the Ravage from Kimo just yet. So we're lacking that big team fight combination with the Wukongs. We're lacking control. We don't really have the best points in Whirling Death as well from Escott, so he has a pretty hard time clearing out the Spiderlings when they're right next to him. Although...
Arena drops towards the north. They have got Escott, but it's only 11. In fact, never mind. Kimo, he goes down as 4-2-3 does join the team. They'll move in for more now. They'd love to get Escott. Nice Nightmare cancellation on the chains. Eventually the spear will be able to land, and well, with that many Spiderlings, it's no problem for 4-2-3 to get through the HP pool of the Timber. As they might just go for Roshan now. And why the hell not?
Yeah. They could, but they have to worry about the Ravage. Respawns are fairly low, and they have the vision advantage here on Lilgun, on IAP with the Monkey Kings. They can always scout out Rush fairly easily with Marb standing up. That does mean that Lilgun will play a bit safer. They do clear it out fast, though. I mean, Desolator up with a Brood Mother, that should make short work of Roche. I think Lilgun understands that they don't necessarily need to be super high pressure right now. This is their power spike, but it's the early point for their power spike. So it's not like they're going to start dwindling away in the next 5 minutes. They've got like a 10-minute window where they're really, really strong, and IAP is the one that has to play in the back foot. So they can take their time here on Lilgun's end, keep working up, maybe hit that blink timing now as Sanctity does have the BKB, and now they get the rollout.
They do. BKB up. Kimo is going to get spotted immediately. He needs to drop that Ravage, I think, right now, but the Spear is out. He'll still Ravage immediately, but there's no one to really help out. No Boundless Strike is there. Maybe they have enough. They've got 11 and they've got Kishka down, but they're going to lose Yona straight off the bat to Sanctity. So IAP, they might be happy with that one. They got a 2-for-1 trade. Ace 12 though, still trying to run. Lilgun, they'll try to help out with Sanctity, but Escott is still keeping the chase up and eventually will be able to find Ace 12. They might even find another. 4-2-3 still trying to fight on the Brood. In the end, all things being said and done, well, they're going to lose the tide. Regardless of that though, John, it does feel like IAP came out on top.
Yeah, they got a bigger net for a trade in the end. They managed to get some big kills. Dropping Yona is pretty big though. Like her Ember is kind of stalled out in itemization. I am surprised that the Yules is enough for him. And you can see Kishka keeping that pressure up, playing with the info. There are TPs coming up. Lilgun could make this play here.
But they will. Impel does connect. Marb now to get back into that tree line, but the Orchid is there from 4-2-3. 11 right behind them to boot. Still Marb is playing games with the Jukes out, and now he's a tree. Ooh. Still trying to juke them out the best he can, but eventually will understand that there is no way out. And while that was happening, John Sanctity has automatically just gone right into the Roshan pit and just gotten it started. Of course, IAP, they are well aware that this is happening, but it may not matter. Zescott, he tries to move in onto Ace 12, but now Yona gets caught out. Maybe not. He will be able to survive through it. But Lilgun, they still end up finding Matthew. They'll go right back into that Roshan pit.
And without the Ravage here on IAP, it's going to be very hard for them to zip in and steal that wave. Lots of damage coming out from Sanctity, so they do get to pick the first Roche, and now they can really seek to keep that pressure up.
Spear out. They've got Escott on the Timber. Escott does have the Lotus. Should be alright for now, but 4-2-3 wants to keep chasing him down. In the end, they will decide better of it. You've got to find that mid-tier 1 tower here if you're Lilgun. Yona, they'll be around to defend, almost ready to fight, but you've still got to be very afraid of Sanctity at the moment. Hell, even 4-2-3 has his full BKB up. Very kind of dangerous team fight to try and force here as IAP. Now Escott, a nice little Impel dodge there, but the Meld Strike going to fly through. Lotus Orb out. There's your Ravage now. Kimo, a big Ravage. They might be able to turn this fight straight off the bat, but 4-2-3, he's not dying yet. Sanctity isn't either. They've got a Fiend's Grip right onto the Ember. They'll be able to take Yona down. No problem. This Kishka somehow survives throughout all of this. Gets an Impel off, and Escott's going to drop. Really nice plays out from Lilgun as IAP are just lost for words right now. Kimo, he will try to run, but Sanctity is going to continue with the chase down. He does get taken down as they've even got a monkey sleeping in the tree line right now. They'll take him down too. Marv, he'll be the fourth to drop, and they're onto that T2 mid tower.
They're going to be able to push in. Again, with the damage output you have in Sanctity, not much to scare them off. No Ravage anymore on Kimo, so there's no counterfight potential. And Matthew, left alone. Last scrap to be picked up.
He's going to try and delay this out the best he can, but in the end, Spear is going to land from 11. That'll be the end of him. So essentially a full team wipe in the end, if you want to count that last kill onto Matthew. But more importantly, John, a 9k net worth advantage here for Lilgun. I realize they are still within their massive power spike, but considering how much of a net worth advantage they've got going, this power spike just may never end.
Yeah, they've got control of the maps. I think they can definitely shut down the farm patterns of IAP, and they're really, really starved on all your heroes. Marb, Yona, and Escod are all lagging significantly behind the tri-core of Lilgun, and they really need those items to come in. Like the Ember Axe has to be there. They're having issues with handling the Bane. I think that's their massive issue there, Mike, where their hold isn't amazing. They don't have many stuns here, outside, on their supports especially. Like, Tide only has Ravage, Grimstroke has Phantom's Embrace and the Inkswell, which is delayed and a silence that can kind of be juked out. So there are a lot of options for Lilgun in the engagements, and whenever that grip comes out into Yona, there's just no way for Lilgun to jump the backline and stop it. Like, the big issue is that the Ember just can't stand there, spam out the Sleight of Fist, spam out the Remnants, get damage out, because the control from Lilgun on single targets is a lot stronger.
Scott, he's going to be able to chain away. Lilgun, however, they'll take that top tier 1 tower onto the top tier 2. You kind of wonder right now whether IAP can actually defend these tier 2s. But I do think the answer is just no. This will be the final outer tower for Lilgun to take. And they'll take it uncontested. There is nothing coming out from IAP. They respect the fact that they cannot fight confidently right now. But they may be forced to very soon, because you've still got a minute and a half on this Aegis on Sanctity. And he wants to go for a tier 3 at the very least. Not going to take too long either with the Spiderlings moving their way in, though. They do get kind of wiped out there from Yona. It may not matter, though, because you've still got that massive hitting TA. Sanctity. You'll just keep chipping away slowly but surely. You wonder, though, do they go all the way for the barracks? Definitely a little bit risky here, but Sanctity, he does still have 50 seconds on that Aegis, so he might still have a chance. Or maybe they just TP and go after the Marb kill. Kishka sets up and they just TP and get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Marb is just trying to find farm where he can. Just gets punished for it. They don't have the best vision to be defensive in the area for him to kind of bail out in the nick of time. So they get the punishment out. At the least for IAP, they do manage to finish up some items. Ags up on Yona. So Ember can kind of zip in and out. I still worry about the grip. We've seen such good positioning from Ace 12 to get that control off, and there's just still no counterplay here from IAP.
Oh, top lane, Escod, he cannot sustain himself through this damage output. Sanctity, he's got the full silver edge up now, so he's got the break, but what's more importantly, he's got the crit. Just too much damage to deal with. Aegis does expire. So they may decide to back, but it doesn't seem that way. It does seem like they want to go all the way for this.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to be worried about. Once Ravage is expended, you know you've got a lot of control in your hand. So it's all about just positioning properly here on Lilgun, ensuring that the Bane has a good angle for that long grip. And if you can get that off, you're pretty much set here on the side of Lilgun.
You got the Ags up on the next assassin to boot, so Kishka now could be a real nuisance before the team fight really starts. But they are chipping away, just trying. But Impel's there, Yona forced to Remnant immediately. The Soulbind is out. Kishka, no, he's gone too far. Getting a little bit greedy there to try and bury himself on the high ground. Does end up getting punished for it. In the end, they get the tier 3 tower, but that's about all they get. I mean, smoke out. Levin, he'll get chains up. Yona, he'll move in, but the BKBs are there. Levin now uses out on the Ember into the spear, and they've locked him down with the Fiend's Grip again. Oh, Yona just playing 2 on the edge there. Does get punished. There's now Lilgun. They want to go for more. There's no buyback available on the Ember, so it's going to be a 4v4 scenario. Matthew goes down, making a 4v3, but a Ravage is there. Kimo going to try and turn, but there's no damage output. They literally have no damage. Escod's just going to run. Kimo gets taken out by Sanctity. And Escort, well, he's been caught here by 11. He'll keep trying to chain away. He might make it out, but eventually the Orchid does fly in, and that should be more than enough to get the job done. And it really does feel as though if you don't have that Ember alive, you're just not going to have any damage. They even found Matthew.
Yeah, I think the one thing for IAP is that their execution is just falling flat, right? Like, they don't manage to use the Ravage in the way they want. They have Yona running in first instead of, say, the Timb. So every single time Yona comps that grip. In fact, this entire game, Yona's been the constant grip target throughout all the engagements. And you just need the Ember to stand back, to play tag with the Ags, play with a Remnant spam, play with a Sleight of Fist spam. It's just not coming through. I think IAP is being a bit gun-happy and jumping in, and Lilgun, with their patience and experience, are just holding back. They know how to play with the draft. They take the top set of racks. They're going to go for the mid just for a bit. They don't have the Aegis, but they've got this massive 17k lead, and they can just play it safe. Next Roche, we're going to find out in about 20 seconds when it's up. They could just play for the next Aegis and Ag Shard as well. And the map's like just completely shut out now for IAP. They need to keep the farm game up. They need to get even more on Yona, and I think at this point you want a lot more onto Marb. He does have the BKB up on the Monkey King, so you can stand forward and try to force out the grip onto him as well, but I don't know, it's just tough. Like, I think your big issue is still that Bane. Ace 12, with his positioning, has been on point the entire run, and because of the lack of stuns on the supports of IAP, because their only real stun is Ravage and maybe Inkswell if you manage to time it right, stopping that grip is such a massive issue. Like, the Ace 12 will always take out one hero and force it to be a 4 versus 5.
Sanctity top lane. I don't think he can kill Yona by himself, but oh, that's a lot of damage. Half his HP through just one side blades from Sanctity. Had that second one landed, you'd never know. Escort, he'll work on defending the mid lane, but he's going to be careful as Lilgun are hanging about, ready to pounce whenever they need to. Of course, IAP, they do need some farm to go their way. They are currently 18k net worth behind, so they desperately need the gold. Chains out, they've got Ace 12. That's the target they want to start with, but the Nightmare is going to be there into the arena, and Ace 12, he's still not going down. Yona, he's desperately trying, but he can't get it done. Fiend's Grip's up as well. Still Yona trying, but no, the Fiend's Grip is there now. Still, he does die to the Flame Guard, but they got the Spear off in time. Kish is going to impale to follow up. Do they have enough? Spike Carapace will be there, Yona. No, he'll survive. TP away. He's going to make it. Meanwhile, at the top lane, there was another chase happening from Lilgun. But they're unable to kill anyone off. So Lilgun instead will move into that mid-tier 3 tower. They'll just get it started like they did last time. Just let Sanctity get to work.
Yep. Slow chip from a distance. There is the threat of Ravage here from IAP, so not going to fully commit here from Lilgun. I think they understand that without the Bane, it's a bit awkward. They will spot out the next Roche though, Mike. It is up. Sanctity will make his way in. Again, it's not going to take too long for Roche to fall down. IAP, I don't think they're in a position to contest Roshan. They have to keep playing high ground, surrender the Aegis, and just kind of try to find that angle in teamfights. With 2 lives on Sanctity, it just doesn't feel like an easy task. They've even got the shard up on 4-3, so he's got the AoE Ebola coming out now, and increased mischance. It's just so hard for them to leverage their damage here on the side of IAP. They're relying so much on the right clicks of the Monkey and the Ember to an extent that the mischance is going to hurt them.
It won't quite land. Not onto Escort, but they got the Impale anyway, and with the damage from our TA, it's going to be no problem for Sanctity to take down the Timber. Mind you, Escort, he does have buyback available, so he can come back in to try and defend this high ground. He may need to commit it. You've got Kimmo with the Ravage, you've got him up with the Blink, so there's your buyback there from Escort. Kimmo, he's looking for the initiation, but he's going to be unable to find it. But very split up here from Lilgun. Not giving the best opportunity here for Kimmo. And that'll be it. So the buyback amounts to nothing.
Yeah, they're just, again, very patient from Lilgun. They know they've got the window of opportunity on their side. They don't have to rush it. They have a lot of time where they're strong. 24k lead. No easy ways for IAP to close that gap in net worth. And they're just slowly being chipped away. They even have the refresh up now on 11, so double arenas ready to go. And they can just constantly force the fights now if they want to. And they're just keeping every lane shoved in. Maybe not the bot lane, but it's not the most important lane right now. Mid and top are just constantly pressured in, so there's no room for IAP to run around and find farm elsewhere.
Sanctity's going to walk in. Very confident there with the Aegis up. The range rack's gone. There's no way to defend this unless you just fully commit here from IAP, but again, so much hesitation right now. Skimmo, he's waiting for that right moment. Sanctity not afraid. Will continue to just chip away and wait out his creep wave. They're trying hard to defend, but the arena's down now. Kimmo, he'll eventually throw the Ravage out. It does connect with the 3 heroes, but nobody's dying quite yet. As Marb, he's been chased down. They've got Kimmo gone already, and now the refresh out from 11. He's got another. They've even got Escort down. Die back immediately, and would you believe it, John Yona? He gets caught by the Fiend's grip. That'll be it. Game 1 to go the way of Lilgun. And IAP, they showed a few moments of brilliance, but in the end, Lilgun just taking this game in convincing fashion.
Oh yeah, very strong performance out from Lilgun. They get their comfort picks there. The TA and the Broodmother, which we haven't seen in months, having a lot of impact for the side of Lilgun. And IAP, it felt like they had a good draft. You know, they had ways of clearing out the Broodlings, but I think they went a bit too all in on that AoE. You know, like the Tide Hunter support and the Grimstroke meant that your supports really didn't have the best ways of helping out against the Bane. And we saw Ace 12 just really set up every single time, gripping Yona when he jumps in. They had no saves to stop the grip. They had no good stuns outside of Ravage, and Kimmo was very conservative with his Ravage use in the early game. So it just set up Lilgun to kind of snowball from there. Even the lane matchups, like shifting the TA safe lane for Sanctity up against Escod, meant that, sure, first 3 levels for Escod were good, but they didn't have the best burn to deal with Refraction, and once the supports were rotating out, once we saw our Grimstroke leave that lane, Sanctity just managed to get everything he wants. So I think IAP have to be very careful about solely focusing on that one hero. Like, if the Brood comes out, I think you might have had enough with just going with the Grimstroke and Ember. You didn't need to go for the Timbersaw, you didn't need to go for the Tide support, but you could have shifted things around there.
Alright, well that's fair enough. We'll see how they do change things up in game number 2. Of course, we are going to head to a short 10-minute break, and right after that break, we'll be back with game 2's draft.